Okay, so Dhruv, congratulations first of all. You made us proud, and we are very, very happy that a class student from ours has got to a very good rank and very good marks. Okay, and definitely we are here, so I would like you to share your story, how you achieved this, what you did.
First of all, very thank you to you. And about me, this was my second attempt with geography optional itself. And last time I went till the interview, so I got a 127 in paper 1, 127 in paper 2 pretty average marks, less than average rather. So I couldn't make it, but this time I got about second highest in geography amongst all people. So I think your approach and the way you taught was, actually helped in the exam itself. And there was a lot of difference in the way I prepared last time and this time. So last time I was specifically for paper 2, I wasn't very prepared. It was sort of a generalist kind of a preparation from my side, and not much focus on how to write with a geographical perspective in paper 2. So how to use concepts from paper 1 into paper 2, that was very helpful. And and also in paper 1 also the content which I had was very limited in very limited content in the sense that the questions that had come in the last year's papers, I had prepared those questions, and some standard books that I had read also not completely, just referencing them with last year's question papers and preparing those answers. But these days the paper is as such that
Thing about the books is, the basic problem of Indian geography books is they are more informative and they are actually not writing using the geographical language.
Yes,
and that becomes a big problem because majority of students do not have background in geography and they do not actually know how to write. So this is a very, very big problem.
So sir, understanding that geography is not about geography is not a generalist kind of a subject. So you have to write with that perspective that only factual knowledge does not work.
Definitely
in paper 2. Specifically in paper 2, that's why people end up getting average marks, because they written the factual thing was not written with that perspective. So I think that helped. And also second thing is that in paper 2 also you need to be prepared with frameworks. That let's say there are untouched topics like industrial factors, location factors, and transportation, trade, etc. Nowhere in no book it is mentioned how to write those answers.
This is a very, very important point you are making. Yesterday only I was talking to one of my students who got a bit lesser marks in paper 2. So I asked him one specific question, that he told me that he had used lots of theories from paper 1 into paper 2. So I asked him this simple question: did you invent those interrelations in the examination hall, or had you prepared those linkages before? So his simple answer was, sir, I invented them in the examination hall. Then I told him that then we need to look into your approach, what you adopted, what you wrote. Because if those interlinkages are not prepared beforehand, then there is a very high chance that you might just be forcing things into the...
I can give you an example from the paper itself. There was a question, I think it was a 10 marker, I don't remember correctly. Hill area development program question was there. So somewhere in the back of the mind I had this is something related to something. I didn't remember what the scheme was. I knew that it was about helicopter delivery of food services and stuff, but the framework was there about the air transport that we had discussed in class. So you can do a hub and spoke kind of a model in that. So you create hubs there and spokes there. So I sort of created that answer there itself, but the framework was already there, that you have to write about air transport.
That is what we try to do in the class.
Sir, exactly.
We try to have that interlinkages beforehand.
Yes,
so in paper 2, what was your approach with respect to how many diagrams etc. you draw?
Sir, I think I have not forced diagrams anywhere. So wherever possible, I have made one. And also one thing that I prepared extra because we had practiced that also in tests itself. That the maps they don't have. I mean, they specifically need to be delineated in terms of states. So you have to remember that state boundaries and an actual political map. Then only you can have patterns of literacy, human development, etc. So even if there are less categories, let's say you have a larger range and only 3 categories. Books may there are 10 categories. So make it 3 categories and shade it accordingly.
Because it is also easy to remember. It is also easier for the examiner.
Yes, sir.
To ultimately understand.
So that detail was missing last time. So I just make outline maps and just zone it in somewhat a random manner. But this time was more exact with state boundaries. It's difficult to practice, but it can be remembered. So we had practiced that in tests also. So those diagrams were there, and wherever there were transport questions, their diagrams were there. Industrial. Physical geography, the soil question was there for northeast, so there were diagrams for that, and wherever possible there were diagrams. I mean, almost everywhere there were diagrams.
And what did you do for the map work? How many entries you got correct?
8, sir. 8 I got correct.
It's good.
So 1 or 2 entries I find every year 1 or 2 entries are, I mean, not the
that is the case every year. But one thing I found after talking to the students who and comparing their marks, that those who have scored high in paper 2 generally have got 8 entries correct in paper 2. So that was a very strong correlation we got, because mapping many times students neglect that. It is a very vital part, because I feel that you can score actually very high in that part, and even suppose you are getting 10 marks extra or 8 marks extra, that is actually very huge for this examination.
But last time also, sir, I got less correct, just 6 correct out of 2 questions. So, but the approach was same. You have thematic maps about falls, passes, etc., whatever the entries are, and you try and mark them again and again. There is no way.
So we'll be coming this year. What we are doing last year was not there when you people were there. This year we are coming up with a 90 days mapping work, and that would be online. So I think that would be very helpful for the student. Daily practice of that mapping and revision classes with that would be very helpful. Okay, this year we saw one more thing, that there was lots of confusion with the students regarding paper 1.
Yes, sir.
Because it was difficult, particularly question number 1 was very difficult. How you were able to manage that during the examination? Because I can understand that seeing that first question very difficult, it creates lots of stress.
Sir, in the way I handled it was that I was prepared for that actually, because in the first class itself that we did was you divided questions into 3. That these are very difficult, very obscure type of questions. Then there are moderate difficulty questions, then there are easy questions. So you go for the moderate and easy questions first, and you don't worry about the obscure questions. You can write something, it's okay, you can get 1-2 marks. So anyways, I had calculated only half 1 marks in those questions. The pseudo volcano question was there. Then there was another question, low energy, high energy coast was there. So I may have got some marks, but I don't think many marks were there. So I didn't worry about those questions. So I just moved on in whatever I could write in that and just move on. So, and about that physical geography, anyways, I was prepared that it will be extremely tough, like the last 2 years, 3 years. So I was more focused on the second part of the paper, as you had also suggested that human geography part should be.
This is the thing. What I am doing, like last year, what we used to do, I used to start with physical geography, my 500 plan. But this year, what I am doing is I am going to start with human geography. I think that would be more beneficial from the examination point of view.
Sir, also in human geography, I also found that you yourself said that more exact questions are there.
Definitely, that is the case.
So even you can twist it, but there is a range you can twist it.
There is always a case where you will be able to write if you are prepared well human geography.
Yes,
in physical geography, it is more like a science.
Yes,
Sometimes it can be geomorphology. It is like I always repeat in the class that geomorphology has become bewafa.
Yes, sir.
You devote lots of time to it, but it is not giving you rewards.
Yes, sir.
So that is also true.
And also it's even in human geography it's more exact, but nowhere I read about one question was that Kristall's applicability to real life, Kristall's application. So nowhere had I read that, but I had read it in the class. So I had a case study ready, I had other problems ready. So these questions were difficult ones, but I did it the fastest that I wrote was this question, because I had just printed whatever I had read. So, I mean, if you can...
See, I talked to many students. One thing I found actually, that those who had thoroughly prepared the class,
Yes, sir.
they have definitely done much better. There were students, I can say that their actual knowledge level is very, very high. But the problem is that if you haven't consolidated, having even lots of knowledge can sometimes be damaging. So this year in the result it is very visible that we can see that there are many students who are first attempters, second attempters, but still they are scoring very high marks.
Yes, sir.
So probably one of the biggest reason for that is when you read limited sources, definitely that means you are able to consolidate much better. And if you have simultaneously practiced answer writing along with them, that means you will be able to utilize that knowledge whatever you have.
Sir, I think one of the things in paper one was also about, especially in both parts, physical geography as well as human geography, that the context that we write in first two lines that I had practiced with you itself, that you have to write the context of the question, then move on. So, I mean, that sort of structure is very important. I think it gives a good message to the checker that
Definitely.
you actually know the thing. And also, I also remember another question about Mackinder's theory was there. So people write about challenges and other stuff, but I had practiced that in the class, that you first write about specific points, then you go to the details and other stuff. So people must have written the same thing, but I wrote that in different headings. So I think that would have fetched 1 or 2 marks extra maybe.
Very, very good. So Dhruv, so I think it is enough for today.
Yes, it is.
And Dhruv will be helping us during this next 2.5 months up till when he is here, and he will be helping us through the website, also through the offline courses, and he will be helping us in mentoring the students.
Till the further procedure starts for the training, etc., I will be here for about more than 2 months, also maybe 3 months. So because of sir's help, I have been able to do good in the exam, much better than last time. So I think I'll be here to help out more people who are taking geography next year.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you, sir.